What is up, podheads? Back with another episode of the Podioslave podcast. I'm joined, as always, by Anthony. Missed it again, 2 weeks in a row. And Nate. Nate's back. What's up, man?
Oh, what up?
Yes.
See, I thought you were going to introduce Nate first, because
No.
Nate is the guest of honor, podcasting after dark.
He's not a guest, though. He's just back.
He's back.
He's just back to do a little nerding. You know, we're nerderying again.
I'm like Tom DeLonge, just making an appearance. Or my Matt
there you
Skiba.
go.
Are we going on tour? I mean, that
One
tour
more
was a lot of fun last
time.
summer. That was one of my favorite shows of all time.
So, Nate, you haven't been on since, I think it was a Jimmy Eat World episode, we said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We were talking about like when was the last time? Deep dive on Jimmy Eat World's Futures, incredible record. And yeah, it's been a minute for sure.
But you're back, and we're doing Blink Enema of the State tonight because that turned 25 earlier this year, and it's a formative record for us. So we were like, we got to do this one before the year ends. But before that, like, let's just catch up a little bit here. We've all gone to some pretty sick shows over the last few weeks, and just how the hell are things going on the nerd front for you guys? Like, Nate, you saw David Gilmour?
Yeah, dude. Took a trip up to LA. Haven't been up there in a minute either. And went to Hollywood Bowl. Saw David Gilmour of Pink Floyd, formerly of Pink Floyd. I guess we can truly say formerly because he just sold the catalog as well. So, but yeah, incredible show as usual. I've seen him before. Plays a lot of Floyd. Plays a lot of solo stuff as well. And I love that guy's voice, as well as obviously his guitar playing is kind of puts you in a trance a little bit, especially in that room or that venue. So yeah, it was nice. It was nice to get, like what we call, and I guess is well documented as music therapy, to just go there and just kind of unplug and soak it all in. But also to see someone of that stature still doing it, it's like, wow, he definitely doesn't have to do this. And he's out there doing a small run, some LA dates and New York dates. He just did a small European run, and I think that's it. I don't think he's doing like any other Midwest dates or anything like that. So yeah, it's cool.
So a guy like that, does he lean too heavy on the show and the lights and that? Because that's one thing. I mean, it's not, obviously I'm not comparing him to Frankie Valli, but it's when you get up there like that.
He's not Frankie Valli.
No, he's not. It shifts from, and maybe they're a bad example because they were always about the optics and always about the show, right? But like a lot of these legacy acts, there's a turning point when they don't bring it and they lean on certain things. It sounds like that's not the case.
That's an awesome question, because his counterpart, Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, relies heavily on the stage and production and whatnot. It's a full-on, well, they do like The Wall in its entirety, and they do Dark Side of the Moon in its entirety. And I've seen clips of the most recent tours, and it's a full-on production with like props and everything. So to answer your question, he doesn't, but there is a little bit of a light show, but it's very much musician focused. And he's got an incredible backing band, and everyone has their highlights. But, David's definitely the star of the show. But other than some, lights that kind of synchronize with the music, not even the whole time, just certain parts of songs, it was very much so the music and not so much, let's rely on that. But that's a great question, because they could very well do that. Yeah.
And no disrespect to Frankie Valli. I mean, that dude
he's still
puts asses in the seats, and he's still getting out there, and what they say, half of life is just showing up, and he's showing up. So
yep, and he looks good. He's standing on stage still, so good for him. But yeah, I'm excited to hear that, Nate, because, and you're right, that is a really good question, because that can certainly be a paycheck for some legacy acts. Not everybody, but some legacy acts. So it's cool to hear that, there's some lights still involved, but I'm sure Gilmour still shreds on guitar, and he still sounds really good because his voice is awesome. And yeah, that's exciting stuff.
It's a great question too. It's almost like if you deep dive into it, because of that age, like if you can't nail it, call it any band that has a voice track, backtrack, like, you almost want to distract from the fact that, like, if you take a little bit of a trip running across stage and you're somehow completely in tune, then it gives it away. So like distraction is with the production is very much paramount in that scenario.
Like maybe even Taylor Swift. I mean, shit.
Dude, I look out for it now. I mean, I don't go to a lot of huge gigs like that, but I look out for it. I'm like, are they fucking with me? But it's like, I don't know. We're just geeks that way.
Absolutely.
And they are, most of them are, but hey, if it still sounds good, well, who cares? I don't care.
Yeah, well, the show's good too. But I remember we heard that from Greg way back on episode 64, like the tour magic stuff. Like, you know that there's some stuff going on there. It doesn't all. There's some help in spots. Not everybody, and we see a lot of shows where there's no help at all. But there's some shows where there's some help.
Dude, I mean, recently, as of recent, working venues, like I'm a little bit more in tune, I guess, behind the scenes to see it unfold, and obviously sound check and everything too. And it's a little disheartening, to be honest, because it takes away from it.
It can be, yeah, it absolutely can be.
Yeah,
it's about the show though. If the show's good, like if that works, and you're going to see a band or an artist that you love, and you're still getting that itch scratched, no pun intended, there to our friends at the Edge. But if you're still getting that, out of it, then it's probably worth it to go still, right? I mean, I know there are bands that I would see, even though I don't know that it would be them doing it per se anymore. I'd absolutely still go see them. So
I think it goes to Twan's point of if it's not overutilized or it's not completely dependent upon, it's a different story. If it's just kind of like a safety net, like everyone likes consistent food, and not to bring back the food analogies, but like
the food back.
Yeah,
a tasteful backtrack. I love that.
But consistency keeps the tour going, and fans in the seats and great Yelp reviews or whatever they do for music, so
great Yelp
I remember
review.
when I saw Deftones 2 years ago, some dude in the comments on, I don't know, it was a live video or something, he's like, oh, Chino and the Light Show is still out there, because they had a shitload of lights and Steph wasn't playing and Sergio had left, and I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah,
but they can not tour anymore. That's an option too, and you'll never see him again.
And I mean, we're hoping for a new record in 2025, but yeah, I would rather them still tour, and if it's Chino and the Light Show, so be it. Oh shit! All right, Anthony, you and I both had Portland on lock on Friday about a little over a week ago now. And a disclaimer: I am the first to be like, nobody comes to Portland. Why the fuck don't people come to Portland? Why can't Portland get shows? We got a big one, and then across the street we had a big local one, and there was also a rap group in town and an emo night in town. This all the same night, which I love that it happened. I wish that it was spread out a little better, just so we could get all of it and be able to go to most of it. But you get to see A Day to Remember and August Burns Red, right?
I did, at the Civic Center. I still call it the Civic Center. Cross Insurance Arena. Stand Atlantic opened. I missed them. I got there for, I would say, maybe halfway through August Burns Red, and they were fantastic. That's a band that actually translates very well in a big room. And Civic Center is about an 8,000 cap for this, and you guys have been there a million times. For the smaller attended shows, in the 3 to 5 range, 3 to 5K range, they push up the stage a little bit so it looks a little fuller.
Yep.
They did that. I estimate there's probably about 3,200 people there, so not crazy. August Burns Red was great. I think his name's Jake, the singer. He's just a great front man, super powerful front man. The crowd was big into it. I was on the floor for them, and then for A Day to Remember, I moved to the seats. I gotta rest my feet, and man, I'm not not a spring chicken anymore. But A Day to Remember, 22 song set, career spanning. I think I knew like 19 of the 22 songs.
Damn,
I'm a big fan.
Nice.
Big fan. And the last time they came through was 2019 State Theater. They headlined over Knocked Loose, and that was 3 years ago. No, that was 5. No, it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And now they're playing Cross Insurance Arena. I mean, double the capacity. Great show, though. Great show. I'll give it up to Jeremy. Great front man, works the crowd, can sing, can scream, can pull it off live. I don't know if there's any tour magic there, but if there was, you couldn't really tell. Great show.
That's awesome. And I would have gone to that with you had I not gone across the street to Aura to check out 4 local bands, one of which is our friends in Sparks the Rescue, and get to see them again playing the hometown show. And that was very well attended. 4/5 sold. I bet it was pretty close to sold out. There was a lot of people there.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and that's on the night where across the street there's 3,200 people in the Civic Center for A Day to Remember and August Burns Red and Stand Atlantic. So pretty wild that Portland really showed up on a Friday night in November. That doesn't happen in Maine very often. So we were able to pull that off, and getting to see the Sparks guys again, they just bring it live, man. They had a 20-song set. They started at 10:30, went till about midnight. I was exhausted at the end of it because I'm 40, but at the same time, it was a blast and fun to see Marty and Toby up there crushing it. And they were on with us earlier this year after their shows in Portland, really cool to see that show. It was really cool to have 4 bands, all from Maine, all have people into all 4 sets, which is not something that happens a ton anymore. I feel like it happened a lot when we were younger, you know, in high school and just out of high school into college. Because we have more venues to do that stuff. Now it's harder to get that group together, get a lot of people together for a local show like that. And shout out Sparks for bringing that heat as well, on top of the fact that they just kick ass.
Yeah, and if it is a local four band gig, it's at a much smaller venue.
So yeah, check out Fake Feelings opened, and then Adulting, and then Moment of. That they were all great. All had really good sets. I was a fan of all 3, having never seen any of them before. I've seen Fake Feelings before, but having not seen the other 2 bands, I was like, shit, I should check these guys out. So go check them out too.
Nice, man. On assignment, 2 different venues. That's fucking nerdery squared.
Thing is, we would have been at the other gig if Data Remember wasn't happening. I was going to go to the other gig, and vice versa. So,
well, then
crazy.
The Far Side was in town, and Emo Night was in town, and I would have gone to Far Side at Oxbow, and I would have gone to Emo Night if nothing else was going on. So we had it doesn't happen in Portland, Maine like that almost ever. So it felt like Boston for a night, or it felt like New York for a night, where we just had stuff to choose from and figure it out. There were people that went to both, Anthony, A Day to Remember and Sparks, because Sparks went on late enough that you could probably catch the second half of their set after A Day to Remember ended. So, I mean, that's the play right there. It's right across the street. Literally, you can spit on it from the Civic Center. So, pretty cool stuff. Yeah,
it reminds me of like CMJ Week. When I did college radio in New York, it was just fucking shows, and you walked from show to show. They spread out from like the day to the night. It was a marathon. That's what it's called, CMJ Marathon. But and man, I it's funny. You text me. It's like you could probably get to both, and I'm like, I probably could, but I'm not going to do it.
You should have. No, it was good. It was we had it covered. We had Podioslave was at both, so we made it work. All right, let's dig into the main topic, the main event tonight. We are going to celebrate 25 years of Enema the State, Blink-182's record from 1999. I'm sure a record that means as much to you guys as it does to me. Just an all-timer. How do we want to do this? Do we want to do kind of early memories to start like we usually do?
I think early memories. Dial back the clock. I was like kind of putting ourselves in the time frame leading up to these albums. Like, did we know of these bands before? Was there a lot of hype? Did this come out of nowhere? Who introduced, all that shit? Because it transplants me back. No pun intended.
I like it. All right, Anthony, you lead us off. Give us where you heard about it, where you were in 1999 when this dropped, June 1st, 1999.
I was 13, 1999. It's crazy. I was thinking back. I was like, was I a fan of Blink when What's My Age Again dropped? And the answer is yes. I liked them from the Dude Ranch era. So in Southern Maine, we mentioned it, WCOI, they played Damn It from Dude Ranch.
That's
and
right.
there was a group of us at our middle school that liked that song. And I remember getting Dude Ranch, the album. Our buddy Sam M. You guys know Sam M.
Yep.
Yes.
More of a hip hop head, but I remember he liked, like, there was a common linkage, common bondage. Yeah. No. common bondage over Blink-182 in the Dude Ranch album. And it's interesting because the rest of the album is not like Damn It. It really isn't. It's much more raw. It's almost like demo sounding. And I don't know about you guys. I never viewed them as a jokey band back then because you had no way of knowing anything about them. Right. The internet wasn't there. Like, you didn't know. You had no idea. You probably I didn't even know the band members' names. So it wasn't what they became. And I didn't know that was their shtick. But in hindsight, Dick Lips.
Yeah.
The meaning of Dude Ranch. Have you read what Dude Ranch is?
Yeah.
So I was a fan. I wasn't like a huge fan, but I knew of them. And then when it must have been What's My Age Again dropped, it was like, oh, okay, this is different. And I like this probably more. So like that was my lead up to it.
Nate, what about you, man? Did you have a similar lead up? Because we were you and I were at a different middle school than Anthony, so we didn't have Sam M introducing us to.
You didn't have that bondage, guys.
No,
maybe you did, but it was a different bondage.
We did, but I had bondage from a friend in Portland, so yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. But Nate, what about you?
I also had some bondage with a neighbor, Theo M. Good dude.
I know Theo. Yeah.
Yeah, good guy. He introduced me to them. He was big into like the SoCal skate scene, music scene, all that stuff. So lucky for me, being neighbors with him, I kind of was a little privy to that stuff before my Kerrang magazine days to get a little insight on what was happening. Because otherwise, I would have no idea. Like, you know what I mean? Like, radio played a little bit, but that was a whole scene that, like, unless you knew, there's really no way to scope it out. He was getting Thrasher magazine and demos, and he was going to Warp Tour. He actually asked me to go to Warp Tour '99. I didn't go, but he went with another one of our friends. Rest in peace, Jeremy. But yeah, that was like my introduction to Blink. Same Dude Ranch, and just kind of, you know, digging that whole scene. I was like, I think that's when I first got obsessed with like wanting to get to Southern California in some future life. But yeah, that band stuck out quite a bit. I remember at the time when he introduced me to that band, I just felt like there was a very obvious like different level up from like the other punk bands in that scene, called it like Goldfinger and Unwritten Law and everything. They just were more cohesive.
Even with Dude Ranch, you got that vibe?
Yeah, but maybe because they were already hitting it big in Southern California. So like the magazines and like the stuff he had, like they were kind of already front and center. So maybe it was somewhat forced on me. But, you know, listening and being in tune to it, I was like, I think I just like the dual vocals, you know, like Mark and Tom.
Me too. Yep. That
might have been part of it too. It's just like, oh, this is different, like two different vocalists. And obviously
that is a good point. Yeah.
And Tom's voice just being quintessential punk, you know. I was like, oh, that's fucking punk rock. Like, I don't know what that is. It's like, it's different, you know. But that was my thing.
I love my favorite Blink songs are Tom and Mark together. There are ones that I love, ones that are just Mark. I love ones that are just Tom. But I think some of my favorite ones are all-time ones are where they both play a part, and that's pretty awesome when that can happen. And there's nothing like those two. They're crazy. So yeah. So Theo got you into it? Sam got you into it? Swan, me, my buddy Bart. Growing up.
Nice.
My parents were divorced when I was like 5, so I would spend time in Portland at my dad's too, which was, 20 minutes away from where we lived in South Portland. And I had a friend who lived down the street from my dad's house who loved music. We used to blast Our Lady Peace, Superman's Dead at like the loudest his dad's speaker would go so the whole neighborhood could hear it, shit like that. But he bought me Enema of the State, gave it to me for my birthday, and was like, have you heard of these guys? And I'm like, well, I've heard Damn It on the radio because we listen to CYY, but I didn't really know anything about them. I hadn't listened to Dude Ranch. I didn't know any of the other kind of goings on with that band. And then obviously MTV showed us What's My Age Again and Adam's Song and all the small things, right? We get those videos, and those I'm sure play a part for all three of us, loving the record down the line. But yeah, we're at his house, and he's like, this band is awesome. You need this CD, so here you go. And we just cranked it that whole summer. Like, that's just what we did, was play basketball or baseball in the backyard, wiffle ball in the backyard, listening to Blink-182. So that's how it started for me.
I love that. He like knighted you with the Blink album.
Exactly.
You need this. I think it's what you just said. You need.
Yes, exactly. This is yours now. I already have it. So here you go.
So leading up to that, you knew Damn It.
Yes.
I would assume there's no way you knew that they were a jokey band from Dude Ranch.
Didn't know any of that. Yeah, no. 14 years old, no idea.
No idea. Even with like I said, even with Dick Lips, like Apple Shampoo and fucking Dude, I don't know. I just and if you looking back, if you look through the CD, you can see there's like a kind of a jokey vibe. But in the time, no, I don't know. It just that wasn't. I don't think they leaned into that, and there weren't any outlets for them to lean into it, at least for us.
For us, right. And everything is a joke when you're 13 and 14, right?
It's true.
We may not have understood all the jokes they were giving us, but like just seeing them run naked through the streets of SoCal in the What's My Age Again video, you're like, what the fuck is this band? Like, what are these guys doing?
Yeah, I think we're just so young, just trying to grasp the music or the album cover, let alone the read in between the lines type stuff. This goes along with anything, like record, like buying a Cypress Hill CD in like 98 as an 8th grader, being like, they're talking about weed. I don't know what weed is. It's like some leaf, like,
Right. Shout out Sendog, former Podioslave guest.
Yeah, and that imagery for that album was very intentional, as we heard. we talk about Dude Ranch. That was what, 97, maybe 97.
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
This comes out in 99, and it comes out in a big way. Like the first time we all probably heard anything from this album was What's My Age Again, and it was probably MTV, right, or the radio.
Absolutely, yes.
And it was. So what's going on in that video? Is that the one where they run naked, or is that?
Yes.
So there's a clear lean into youthful, immature shtick stuff. So there was a difference, and that wasn't what was necessarily was going on, or was it at the time? I mean, Eminem was jokey as hell. That was 99.
Yeah.
Nu metal was, we always like to talk about what was going on at the time. It was at that level. It was
boy band central too.
Boy band central, Eminem, nu metal. Think about what was on TRL. And that it was boy bands versus nu metal with
and Blink
pop punk sprinkled in. Exactly. Yeah,
you're right. They did the jokey thing, and they leaned into the imagery of the record. It's over my shoulder here in the video, which may pop up on the internet here in a couple days. And that video and the All the Small Things video, right? The All the Small Things video just made fun of TRL and made fun of boy bands and made fun of, but like tongue in cheek, having a good time with it. It wasn't like trying to make anybody feel bad. It was just funny. Like Mark, Tom, and Travis pretending to be boy bands and be in all these boy band videos because they were also on TRL, and that was a big piece of it. And we've talked about this before. I know we were all like, get out of school in 8th grade, go watch TRL at a friend's house, and we're like rooting for Limp Bizkit, we're rooting for Korn over Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and Backstreet Boys. But some of us were also, and I think you guys included, rooting for Blink-182. Like, All the Small Things is number one. I'm in for that too. That's great.
Yeah, because it did have a polish, and I'm sure when we talk about the album proper, we'll talk about how the album's super polished, but it did have punk roots, and it wasn't like they were an overnight success. I mean, you have some of the, what was the album before? Cheshire Cat. Like Cheshire Cat came out in the 94 or whatever, and even the summer of 99, they played Warped Tour and they weren't headlining. I looked up, if you looked up the flyer, they play under Pennywise.
Oh, wow.
So it just shows you like they, had this polished album, but they were paying their dues. And sure, the sound changed, yes, but they were playing Warped Tour up until that summer. And I don't know if that was their last year playing it, but I don't know. You could tell that they had roots. It wasn't unlike some other bands. You know what I mean?
No, you make a good point. I mean, I think in terms of my, come up with the band, call it the bondage we were talking about earlier, seeing them in like the, kind of Thrasher magazines and stuff like that, for me, it was like, oh, like this band did climb the ranks. They did earn this spot. They did, like, it's amazing that they're on TRL against Britney Spears or Backstreet Boys that literally are like pay to play. The Limp Bizkits and Korns of the world are also, that was also a grind in that scene to make it to that level too. But I didn't have that legacy. I didn't see Korn play a small club back in the day, and I didn't even see Blink-182 back in the day too. But I did have a little bit of a clue of, oh, this band's rad, and then it looks like they're blowing up on the other coast. So to see them on TRL in our era, like, oh, dude, this is happening. And I actually kind of know this band a little bit from my neighbors' magazines and CDs and stuff. So I felt like a little privy, like, oh, I'm kind of part of the scene. Like, this band broke out somehow. This is incredible. And to be on MTV competing against multi-platinum, Jive Record, or not Jive. Is it Jive? Yeah, Jive Records bands that are basically have all the money in the world.
Jive and any of the big names that had some of those like manufactured pop bands or pop acts, right? It's just crazy that that's the stuff that was happening. And I mean, I looking back on it today, I like all of it, but this record is one that I will come back to and listen to in its entirety and be very happy that I did.
And it was for them, we say it wasn't overnight, but the changes in the band were kind of overnight. So like in this time from Dude Ranch to this album, they have a new drummer, obviously. New producer, right? They moved from, was it Trombino? Mark Trombino. I think Trombino did Dude Ranch, and then Jerry Finn, rest in peace, did Enema. So again, I'm not going to pin those two producers or the drummers against each other, but there was an intentional almost kind of leveling up that they did, right? And I did read that, like Tom said that was very intentional, and I've always known that clearly it had to be. Like, go listen to Dude Ranch and then listen to Enema. It is night and day.
Yeah, it just sounds produced in comparison to the rawness of Dude Ranch. And I love Dude Ranch. I mean, going back and listening to it after the fact and becoming a fan of the band, and there are 10 songs on that record I want to listen to still to this day, even though maybe I don't feel the same way as I did when they first happened. But at the same time, this one and Forward is the Blink that, like, I fell in love with, grew up with, you continue to spin to this day.
Yeah, you both make a good point. There's like a sea change. The only other band I can like think of comparatively is like Incubus, Science to Make Yourself. There's like a giant shift. Like,
Huge.
okay, you guys are major.
One, yeah.
They were major with Science, with Epic too, but like, that was Incubus playing clubs. To Make Yourself is like, all right, dude, we're gonna give you all this money, like make the best record you can, and we'll put you on every good tour, and so there's some comparisons there.
That's actually a great comparison, because, and the irony is you're right. The previous album was on a major, but they got signed from that sound. So someone saw something,
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is insane to me, because I don't know. I listened back to Dude Ranch leading up to this conversation. I'm like, how the fuck was this on a major? Like, I get Damn It. Strip Damn It away. I don't understand how this is on a major.
That's a good point.
Sounds like demos. It sounds like basement demo or garage demos.
Well, and Nate sent us that YouTube video of the demos for Enema, and I skimmed through it, and it sounds like Dude Ranch, right? It sounds like if Enema was Dude Ranch, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
That they did that, and I love that they had to level up, because they probably needed it to become the band they were going to become, right? If they just stuck with let's make it sound kind of gritty and raw, this record probably has some shelf life, but does it do what it did for them? No,
it would have been Dude Ranch Part 2, or not even that. Maybe it wouldn't have a Damn It. You strip Damn It off of Dude Ranch, that shelf life is much shorter. I mean, I think that's the only song they still play to this day. Maybe they play Josie, I don't know, but
I think they play Josie here and there, but yeah, it's not much.
It just makes you think, like, listening to that link I did send you guys that sounded equivalent to Dude Ranch, but then we're talking about like TRL and like, major tours and whatnot to follow, coming up from like playing 4th slot at Warped Tour prior. It almost like it's like, well, if you're going to be on TRL, like, we can't go that rough cut at all. So it's almost somewhat premeditated to an extent.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this was, and I'm not saying it's, all concocted and planned, because you never know what's going to happen. But,
oh, yeah.
New drummer, all these songs are so polished. They bring in Jerry Finn, who mixed Green Day's Dookie, this brand name guy who has history with this sound or this sound adjacent, who has his hands in the biggest album to ever come out of the genre. Let's bring him in.
Right.
Let's double down on the shtick, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Let's have an eye-catching album cover. Did
you read about that?
No.
The album cover? So
let's get into that.
Yeah, so the album cover, it has a porn star on it, Janine Linda Mulder. They didn't know when they were picking who to put on the album cover, because they were going to go this route, right? They wanted a sexy nurse or whatever, but they didn't know that she was a porn star. They just assumed it was just an attractive female.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until doing so. And this, who knows if this is half-assed internet research, as Bill Simmons likes to do on his Rewatchables podcast. But it's what I read. Who knows if it's legit or not? But they were just picking people to be on the cover, or a person to be on the cover, and ended up with her. And I mean, we all were 13, 14. We're like, okay, yeah, I want to grab that one at the record store, right? they were playing to their audience, on top of the fact that the songs played to that audience as well.
And they knew it would hit. And if you look at the album cover, their name is, and I'm looking at it right now, their name is very, very small, right? That was not the focus of it. It was this, hot porn star. It was leaning into the Enema joke. She's got the glove on. They knew that it could stand on its own. And maybe they didn't. Maybe we're just having fun,
I think they did.
Assuming. But I think this was so intentional. And I did, like I said, I read back with like old Tom interviews that, like, I'll quote Tom. He's and this is shortly after this came out, he was like, there had never been a pop punk album that sounded like nursery rhymes on steroids on a mainstream level, you know?
Yeah,
And
he's absolutely right.
yeah, and it's true. And especially with two vocalists, it's another shtick. I know it's not a shtick, but I don't know. What other punk bands up until that time had two vocalists? I don't know. I have to think about it.
Ones that sounded that much different from each other too, right? I mean, there's a lot of, you might get sing scream in bands, but you weren't getting a lot of both of them singing. And I love both of them, but not well. Neither of them are super like polished vocalists. I love them both, and every time I hear either one of their voices, I'm like, yep, I'm home. But yeah, neither of them were like amazing, at their craft when it came to that stuff.
One thing I got to say about the album cover, because it does seem like, an anomaly or unique in its optics and whatnot, but it really wasn't. That era, call it late 90s, jumping right into the year 2000, you had The Urge, Too Much Stereo, Zebra Head with Playmate of the Year, and the one previous.
Yeah.
Had very similar like looks to them. So that was a thing in that scene. So it kind of went hand in hand. If anything, it kind of felt genuine to that punk rock ska movement at the time in terms of the record album cover. It wasn't actually, it was the opposite of mainstream, because if anything, that would be controversial to put that into the Walmarts of the world to sell records.
Nate out here name dropping two former Podioslave guests, and Steve Ewing of The Urge, and obviously Greg has been on the show 7 times, I think. So yeah, but you're right that it's different. The intention, I get back to the intentionality piece, that they were trying to make this huge, and it succeeded, which is kind of crazy because it had succeeded with Green Day, but in a different way, a little more serious, obviously, with Dookie. Even though the name is not serious, that record has a bunch of serious moments on it, where this one has a serious moment or two, but is not trying to be serious at all.
I'm with you. It's shocking that it worked, but at the same time, it's not surprising. It's not surprising in that, yeah, as a 13, 14-year-old, everything you just mentioned is going to appeal to me. But everything that we just mentioned is unique about the scene, I think, right? You got, I don't know of a lot of punk bands that were leaning that heavily into the jokes, and maybe they were, you know what I mean? Like,
not to this level that got this big. There's nobody that did it like that.
Yeah, it's like we all like the Jerky Boys. If I want my humor of that era, I'd go to the Jerky Boys. It wasn't necessarily a punk band or even another band. So you throw that into like music I already like, and I'm 13, and I'm, I love anything that caters to that humor. And you get, this is the American Pie era, and it's just, yeah.
Good call. Good call.
It's like, for me, that's the sweet spot of those teenage movies in that era. There's a reason why we love them. We were the perfect age for it, and it hit us just right.
Yeah. Well, Nate always likes to say that too, and in the group text, it's like, were we the perfect age for this? We were the fucking perfect age for this.
Perfect age. And that's why we're talking about it. Think of all the albums that Jimmy Eat World Futures, that hit us at 19. That would have hit us at 13. It would not have connected like it did. This album, if this came out when we were 19, trust me, my friends, it would not have hit us in the way it did. Maybe it would have still hit us, but not in this way.
Yeah. I mean, it was in a Discman in study hall, listening to it for the first time. I was like, fuck, man, it's very relatable,
You had one of those sport ones, didn't you?
The
skip protection, 15-second. You could slam it against the desk.
No, it's not no skip. You pay for the skip. 30 seconds, I think I had. You pay an extra $150 for that skip protection.
No, you had the mini disc, didn't you?
Oh, mini discs. Now we're getting into it.
I think my brother did. I didn't have one.
That's from around this time too. I think sophomore year of high school. I remember Adam C having those in like woodcraft class and listening to like Deltron 3030 on those and shit. Now we're tangenting.
Positive contact.
Yes. Oh man. But yeah, this record continues to roll. Do we want to get into tracks? Do we want to get into the American Pie-ness of it? Because I mean, you said that, and I perked right up, so I could get into that for a minute here.
Well, let's do this. So we kind of gave the lead up to the album, and if we were fans, and then the intentionality of it and how it's worked. So now we're up to the album. It's out, right? You no longer, you didn't just hear What's Mange Again. You've heard the whole thing. and it fucking slaps. Like it'd be one thing if all those ingredients all led to like one single special. No. This thing has 12 bangers on it.
Yes, it does. There aren't bad songs on here. So I just looking at the track list right now, there are bits and pieces of this that definitely call back to Dude Ranch. And then you have like What's My Age Again, which is just this well-produced video, the whole 9 yards that makes them kind of pop even more after Damn It, right? But like I feel like Dumpweed, I feel like Dysentery Gary kind of give you that old Dude Ranchy type of vibe, and then you get What's My Age Again, you get Adam's Song, you get All the Small Things, even songs like Going Away to College. That Going Away to College might be a top 5 Blink song for me. I fucking love that song.
Great song.
Just so many good tracks on here. There's not just a one single, right? It's fucking banger after banger.
We talk about like album sequencing. This is untouchable. Dumpweed opening, and then they kind of keep it going with Don't Leave Me. Aliens Exist, kind of break it up a little bit, and then I know you're going to talk about Going Away to College, Nate. I actually listened to that song on my Discman on my drive to college, the first day of college like September 03. I remember listening to it.
Intentionality there, yeah.
Intentionality. There were stair steps that got us there.
The stair steps podcast.
The umbrella of Blink continued to expand.
The food analogy.
And you just crossed off everything on your bingo card. But Going Away to College, all-time song, and it's one that captures the essence of the song perfectly. I mean, I lived it. On my first day driving to college, that was the one song I wanted to listen to. I listened to it on repeat, and see, is that a standout for you, Nate? Is that where you're going?
Yeah, and I think because I mean the record's all over the place in terms of subject matter, and this was way before we went to college, so it kind of gave us a preview of like, oh, like what is that going to be like? This song is like
I know we were going away to high school when this came out.
yeah, but sonically, instrumentally, and Mark's vocals on this, there's a sincerity to it that stands out from the rest of the record. Maybe with the exception of Adam's Song, where there's a seriousness, like, oh wow, is this what it's like? As like a young buck, like listening to this fun punk record, and all of a sudden there's like this serious track about going away to college. My brother was going away to college, like basically the next fall after this record dropped. I'm like, well, that's going to be him, So there's a relatability element, that you had going to college years later, but just the preview of it kind of, I don't know, freezes you in your tracks a little bit. Like, okay, I got to pay attention to this.
All-time chorus. I haven't been this scared in a long time, and I'm so unprepared. So here's your Valentine. Bouquet of clumsy word, a simple melody. The world's an ugly place, but you're so beautiful to me, to Skyly, whatever. It's so fucking good. Like as a 14-year-old, I got that. As a 20-year-old, I got that. Looking back on it today as a 40-year-old, I'm like, shit, man, I felt that way. I know that feeling. I know that feeling like the back of my hand, and it still hits me to this day, 25 years later.
And again, this is a song that's a song that would have been so out of place on any album up to that point. This was the right home for it. Now,
stair steps, baby, stair steps.
Oh, stair steps. With these guys, they took an elevator up from
they did.
The last
You're right.
album.
Yeah. Well, we did this when we talked about Take Off Your Pants, right? How that record needed to happen to get to self-titled. This record needed to happen to get to Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Because, like,
100%.
There's some jokey stuff early, then there's a little less jokey stuff, but, like, still leans into the jokey stuff with Dude Ranch. And then Enema, same thing, but, like, then there's Adam's Song and Going Away to College, and there's some parts of What's My Age Again that if you actually, like, think about it, are also, like, damn, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And then into Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, which is like half like that, and then you get self-titled, which is like all that way. So we grew up with them, which is part of it, and probably why we love them so much, and a lot of people love them so much, is that we are a group of people at 39, 40 years old that had these same feelings as this was happening.
Twan, you mentioned something earlier, which actually, given this song and kind of conversation regarding the serious nature of the song lyrics and whatnot, brought me to like another comparison of like the jokey songs that like Marshall Mathers, Eminem puts out, and then like Till I Collapse. It's like, dude, this guy's a fucking lyrical genius, So the A&R, whoever discovered Blink pre Dude Ranch was like, okay, like these are rough demos, but damn, it's That's a song that is relatable and probably will stand the test of time. So I think this band has legs. Let's invest in them, you know? So I think that's where you get something like Going Away to College and Adam's song. It's like, hey, we know you guys are capable of more. So why don't you bring it and we'll give you all the money in the world to make it happen. But still do the joke stuff. Still be you, still be the punk band that you are. But we know that you guys are in the realm of stratosphere success if you put your minds to it. And we're willing to back you on that.
Yeah. And again, a couple other things they had going for them is I think they're likable, maybe somewhat quirky dudes. I think they're probably good looking dudes. They got that going for them. So like, you know, when whoever signed them, they're scouring whatever clubs in Southern California, like that's all part of it. That is all part of it. Yep. I mean, because this was on MCA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dude Ranch was on MCA. So I don't know what else was on MCA in 97, but they saw something in these guys. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't have seen it. I mean, granted, I was 12 and living in Maine in middle school, but if I were to put on my A&R hat, I don't know that I would have taken a chance on Blink-182 in 1995.
Did you have an A&R hat when you were 12?
I did. It
nice.
was
Did it fit?
No.
Did you get
I grew into
like
it.
Was it your I know we've talked about your Easter basket. Was it a hat? I sometimes got a hat as an Easter basket.
I don't know that I ever got a hat as an Easter basket. Yeah, in my Easter basket. Or as an Easter basket.
I got a Maine Black Bears hat was my Easter basket. And I didn't get Third Eye Blind in it like you did, but I wish I had.
I think Third Eye Blind was probably my best Easter basket pull. I think there was either I almost said Matchbook Romance, Matchbox 20.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yourself or Someone Like You, wasn't that?
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, I think that was maybe in the same basket. Like that basket was fire.
That's a fire basket. Yeah,
fire.
Shout out the rents on that one. That's good shit. Let's go to. I want to just bring up the kind of dual. We're putting these guys out there. We're gonna bring them into the MCA family. We're gonna put money behind the production of this record. Let's throw them in a movie, right? Let's put them in an all-time R-rated teen comedy from the same era. That at the time there weren't many R-rated teen comedies that were hitting. There were like none, right? I think Porky's was the one that did well That's before right. that, in like the 60s to 70s or 80s, and then Animal House before that. There weren't many teen comedies like American Pie in 1999 that could pull off what Blink was also pulling off, kind of in conjunction with it in 99. So to see them in that movie during the Nadia scene, and also have Mutt playing during the Nadia scene was pretty wild, right? I mean, we didn't know any better at the time. It's all product placement for us as kids, but looking back on it, I'm like, all right, they got me. But now I'm like, I still love that song, and I still love that movie, and we lived that in the moment, right? So pretty cool stuff.
Well, I love digging into the timelines and all this, and like, I'm asking myself like, why them and all this. So this came out in theaters July 9th, 99. Enema came out June 1st, but this must have been filmed in like 98.
Yeah, or early 99.
This was off of the Dude Ranch hype.
Yeah.
The album, I'd have to look to see when What's My Age Again came out, but when they probably started filming this in 98. So I'd love to know how this all went down.
What's My Age Again it came out on April 13th, 99. So you're right. This was already in the can.
So filming wrapped September 11th, 98. Wow.
Mutt's the song that's on the soundtrack?
Yeah, Mutt's the song that is in when he's running from his house where Nadia is to Kevin's house to watch the stream, which is ridiculous and terrible and problematic and all that. But at the time, we thought it was funny and stupid, and because it was funny and stupid, but it's also terrible. But you know what I mean? Like, that song is the song playing while Jim is running through the streets of his little town in Michigan.
So it all adds up then, because if you look at the credits for Mutt, it's Hoppus, DeLong, and Scott Rayner. So it was a song, previously written. So that all adds up now.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I didn't realize that. Damn.
Yeah, Hoppus, DeLong, and Scott Rayner. Yeah. So Mutt was like the transition song for them. But Mutt would have been so out of place on Dude Ranch, right?
It would have been. And it was kind of randomly out of place in this movie because there were other, like, if you think about it, like, it wasn't a single, right? So why that song? But it fit. It worked. And I mean, I don't know how many times I paused shaving and told myself that I was the bomb. It's happened since that song came out more than once. But I was starting to shave it this time, so I did it all the fucking time back then.
It actually adds up, especially because that drumming is not Travis Barker's drumming. That's Scott Rayner. And I never even put that together until now. It's crazy.
Hey, have you ever taken the seat off your own bike because you liked the way that it felt?
No. I have had a seat fall off a bike while I was riding home in a windstorm. That wasn't fun, but I didn't do it on purpose.
Not for the way that it felt at all.
But it's funny. Travis was also in the movie, so he's coming into this band who's, as Nate says, taking off at light speed in real time, and like he was in the Aquabats. Drink. He was in the Aquabats before this, so they obviously saw something in him. Were probably friends with him, and then he comes in, and it is a level up. I know the songs are way different, and it's very polished and produced, but the drumming does level up. And I'm not slighting Scott. If you listen to Dude Ranch, the dude can drum. I mean, I'm not taking that away from him, but the whole package levels up. But it's interesting that someone in the camp of American Pie sniffed them out and said, "Hey, they're the ones that are gonna, be the face of, this punk band in this movie."
Yeah, it must have been a connection. Like, hey, my buddy works on set for this movie that they're putting together, and maybe they didn't think American Pie was gonna blow up. Maybe they thought it was just going to be like a cult classic.
They didn't. I mean, there's no way they could have known that American Pie would turn into what it turned into, because it was a rated R comedy that didn't happen a ton at that point, right? There were only, like I said before, there were only a couple that even had sniffed any sort of like recognition, and this one blew those out of the water.
So according to the Mutt Wiki, there's a whole wiki on the song itself. It was re-recorded with Travis, as we know. But I'd love to hear the original version. There's an original version with Scott.
It might be the demos in that. I think it's in the demos that Nate sent us. So, yeah.
Oh, is it?
I think it's one of them. Yeah. I don't know if it's Travis or Scott playing them, but cool. So, anything else we want to like really hit here? Like the songs that stick out to you guys? I know, Anthony, you've done the party song on the podcast before. It was a secret song on an episode, and I think I brought it back not that long ago and used it for some video.
And you know what? It might make a comeback in this episode. Hey, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. That song, it's funny. Like when we mentioned that song to Toby McAllister when we had him on, in my head, if someone asked me what track number is that song on the album, I probably would have said 11. It's number 9. They could have buried that even deeper, but they didn't. They hit you with Adam's song at 7, slow it down, serious tone. Then they come back with probably their biggest pop smash and all the small things. And they're like, well, fuck that. Let's hit them with a party song.
Yeah, right. And just a nuts song. And if you haven't heard the party song, if you're listening to this and you've gotten this far into this episode and you haven't heard the party song, I'm not sure how you got here. I appreciate you're still here. But go listen to the party song right now, and then we'll play you either Toby's version or Anthony's version at the end of the episode if I can find either. Toby did play it for us on one of those like COVID streams back in 2020 after we had him on, or 2021 maybe, and he did a pretty damn good job with it too, considering we asked him to do it like 3 days prior. So it's not an easy song to pull off.
Yeah, amazing song. I remember actually we kind of have like our memories with songs and whatnot. Party song I remember identifying with too, just being like at a party and feeling like out of place and like feeling Mark's awkwardness, like, okay, I can relate with this, like, out of placeness. So relatability goes for days.
So there's an elephant in the room that we haven't brought up yet, and I don't want this to get marked by Spotify as like fake news or whatever they do with episodes that bring up maybe aliens, but Tom's right, man.
Oh my god, yep.
Cue the what is it, aliens they do exist guy?
Yeah, they do exist.
The History Channel dude with those.
Yeah, aliens.
Oh, aliens with the wild hair? Yeah.
Magnets, how do they work?
Oh, Jesus.
Magnets.
But yeah, they come to find out, people gave Tom shit for years for being kind of quirky and telling everybody that aliens were real. And I think sometime either earlier this year or late last year, we found out that Tom was right, and maybe there's some other life in the universe, which I think we probably all, if we're thinking about it, it makes sense because the universe is so vast, but we've never seen it. But Tom knew, man, the whole time. Aliens exist. Great song.
Well, let's dig into this for a little bit because in '99, I wasn't like I was often thinking about UFOs. I think the normal normal person, normal Joe probably was like, yeah, those, it's like a ghost. You know what I mean? Look at it like that, where there was not necessarily any merit. And if you're a big alien person, by all means, have at it. But in the time, yeah, I think this song was looked at a little different.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
And it probably was like, why is this here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think you framed it perfectly, which is, yeah, aliens. Yeah, there's ET movies about it, but it's at the end of the day, like, it's like, do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in paranormal activity, all that stuff? So it was a little bit for its time in terms of like factualness, but there's a little bit of a backstory with Tom on the UFO thing that I dug deep on years back, is the fact that his brother was in the Navy, and there's a lot of UFO sightings here in San Diego off the coast. It's pretty common. I guess if you're out there, especially on a ship, like, it's almost like guaranteed in a certain area that you will see them. So it's almost like,
Damn.
so that just that insight alone, with Tom's brother being in the Navy, let alone in proximity, being San Diego. I mean, similar to like the punk rock scene in Southern California. If you're around it, it's no longer like, oh yeah, dude, you're crazy. Well, no, dude, like, my brother like saw them. Oh, well, maybe he's fucking around with you. It's like, well, the whole ship saw them. And now here we are in 2024, and there's like footage off of the coast of San Diego with that exact footage. You're like, oh, okay, well, fuck.
I'm going to do my Rogan real quick. Jamie, can you pull that footage up real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit, look at that thing. It's moving so fast.
Yep.
My Tone Rogan for the night.
The Tone Rogan.
Still want to do the Rogan 6-hour nerdery podcast, maybe someday.
Someday, yeah.
The thing is, like, even years after this, even through when he did the Angels and Airwaves thing, it was still looked at like, what was the To the Stars? Is that a foundation?
Stars Academy, yeah. Yep.
To the Stars Academy. Like, even when that came out, it was like, all right, he's leaning into this, And even the lyric, what's the lyric? I'm not like you guys.
Yeah, I'm not like you guys. Yeah.
And he wasn't, he thought differently. And I think, time is an amazing thing. Like, look at what's happened in the last 20 years. Like, I think the whole paradigm has shifted and public perception has shifted completely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Most people would tell you, yeah, we're probably not alone. And we might have, at 12 and 13, I'm not sure we were thinking that, but we were listening to that song like, maybe, like, he could be right. I don't know. This is a weird song to have in the middle of this record, early part of this record, for a pop punk band that's, going for it. But I got to give the guy credit. He has receipts. Go back 25 plus years. They're right there.
Yeah. Equivalent to be like, whatever punk band, call it Fall Out Boy, put to the record today. It's like, Bigfoot is real. You'd be like, dude, come on. Like, really?
Yeah.
Well, we've been saying this whole time that, it's a pop record and it's polished and etc. But I mean, they go from Don't Leave Me. That's like, she said that I'm not as well. She thinks I butchered that, but, and then he goes into, hey mom, there's something in the back room.
Yep. Those
are the nursery rhymes that he was talking about. It's crazy. It shouldn't work. It's for every reason. There's way more reasons it shouldn't work than it should.
You're absolutely right. It's crazy that it worked to the level that it did, and we're celebrating it here 25 years later.
And we ate it up. It wasn't like, what the fuck? It was like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess they're telling me like it is.
Yeah. And to kind of wrap up the tracks talk here, Anthem. I remember when the new record came out, and I was sitting on my couch listening to Anthem Part 3, and it got a little dusty in there. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, I never thought I'd hear these guys together again. And we got it. And it started with that song, with Anthem, and then Anthem Part 2 on Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, and then we got Anthem Part 3. And I just love that they still lean into that, right? They're still able to pull off a song like Anthem then and keep it going as kind of a through line for their albums for 25 years.
Yeah, it's a song that the lyrics fit the vibe of a closer. They fit the vibe of the music. Home show, mom won't know, the neighbor Bob, but hump the dog. It's like, in that moment, that's stuff that I would have laughed so hard at. And like now as 40 years old, it's like, yeah, I can understand why 13-year-old me fucking love this. And it's still a great song. Absolutely still a great song. All-time closer, actually, really.
All-time closer.
Well, and then they open the next record with part 2, which is smart.
Did I love that? The anthem 1, 2, 3. Again, back to the Eminem kind of synchronicity of like keeping a theme throughout the records. Like, all right, we're gonna make this last, and there's something we can kind of tie it together with, and that is definitely Anthem, which is cool. Instrumentally too, these songs are all solid. They could stand on their own just instrumentally.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, that's the kind of, I think, wrapping up the songs themselves. Let's get some closing thoughts here. How do we all feel about that? I think we're all in agreement that we're happy that this record exists. We're happy that they're still a band and the three of them are back together. That's how I feel anyway.
Yeah, I look back at this album. I think pound for pound, it's the best pop punk album of all time. And I'm not talking Screeching Weasel, that pop punk. In terms of this era of pop punk, yeah, we're not playing the genre police tonight, but as far as this kind of commercial pop punk, and I think it started with Green Day, and it went all the way up through them and all their albums, Blink's albums. I think this is the best one. I think I don't skip a track. Even Aliens Exist. I don't skip it. I don't skip the party song. I don't skip Dysentery Gary. I may skip all the small things, but that's no fault of the song. It's just buried down everyone's throat. I think between the optics of the band at the time, they were so cool. They were so young and hip and pushed the envelope. And, it's weird to say that looking back, but they did. They pushed it in the stickiness, the jokiness. They cracked those TRL charts.
Yep.
And the fact that I think they're maybe bigger than ever right now is like,
crazy.
That's a feather in the cap to these guys, because they're not bigger because of the new album, and they're bigger because of albums like this. Untouchable. It's probably the best pop punk record of all time.
That's a bold claim, but I don't know that I can refute it.
Who sniffs it, man? Come on, let's get into this.
Dookie.
That'd be the closest. Yeah, I would think.
Yeah, for what this did versus what Dookie did, yes, I think this might be bigger. And as much as I love Green Day and I love Dookie, I'm more apt to put this on than I am that. So I might be coming over to your side. So yeah, I think I may.
There's space, man.
Agree with you. Yeah, there's room on the bandwagon. I'm in.
It's up there. It's in the conversation.
Absolutely. Yep.
I was trying to think of like records that would rival it in terms of stature and timing, and Dookie, Offspring, Smash, but they just don't have the relatability /
Yeah, and Smash is more of a punk record than a pop punk record too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's unparalleled in almost every facet, and the timing for us, subjective commentary throughout this episode, but we grew up with this record, so no matter what, there's a nostalgia element. And to your point, both your points on the fact that the band's bigger than ever, it's like there's like this unique proudness of a fan of like, fuck, dude, they've been through so much shit, which also becomes as relatable as growing up with this record in particular of like, fuck, that's what it's going to be like, or that's what it's like in real time. Drink going through and listening to this record in a Discman in study hall, to like the breakups, the cancer, the disaster with the flight, divorces, all the stuff the band has dealt with. And it's like, you think about it on a personal level, you're like, fuck, like life's complicated. And to come back together stronger, I love the new record. I absolutely love the new record. As the first time I played it, just like the first time I played Enema of the State, I'm like, it just captures you. And so that just shows that the band really is extremely special. It's lightning in a bottle. And with Travis especially, not to knock Scott, but they were supposed to be what they are. And this record really captures that, and the fact that they're bigger than ever and still going. I hope they continue to keep the legacy strong, because they have something that I don't think any other punk band, but many other bands in today's scene that at least came up when we came up, can really rival. So I will echo the fact that it is likely the best punk rock record of our time and maybe all time. Yeah,
and that's a great point. Like them going through all of that, like there is something to us watching it, growing up with it, having some of the same things happen in our lives that, obviously not to the level that those guys get scrutinized, but we all live life and have things happen to us, and you don't get to 39, 40 years old and not have some shit happen, right? As happy as we all are doing this every week, shit happens, and you get back together with your friends, and you maybe place sold out Fenway Park in front of Tony on his birthday, and he's super happy about it. Or the three of us, we get together and we talk about the record and have a blast. So I'm right there with you.
Do a little sidebar on seeing. I didn't see the stadium tour, but I did see the arena tour that me and Twan caught. I got a free ticket, but what happened? I used
Industry Nate happened. Industry Nate happened.
No, it's something happened where like I spent exactly $1.82. And I remember that specifically, like to buy a beer or something, because I had like Apple points or like Apple Cash.
18.20, probably 18.
Yeah, something like that.
For a beer.
I remember being like, "That's all I'm going to spend tonight. This is perfect." Yeah, unnecessary side nerdery.
I just Googled best pop punk albums of all time, and there's a Rolling
Jamie,
Stone.
Can you pull that up for me, Jamie?
Oh, he's pulling it. And there's a Rolling Stone article or list, and Rolling Stone, trusted resource as we all know, has Dookie 1 and Enema 2.
Well,
so,
look at that. We were right there.
Yeah, and then they get into some older stuff. Is Ramones, Rocket to Russia, and then Descendants, Milo.
Yeah, there you go. So we get 3. I got 3 out of the 4 right there. Bang.
And then 5, it's one that I back hard as all-time record, is Fall Out Boy's Take This to Your Grave.
Oh, I was going to say Sticks and Stones would have been my 5, but that's just me.
And Dude Ranch is 8, so Paramore Riot is number 9. I don't know.
There's some really good records there. You're naming off some fucking bangers.
Is this pulling like data from the public, or how's this work?
This is just Rolling Stone being editorial, I would assume.
Yeah.
That's my guess, yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't know if it was like a Google type thing where like it's literally, stacking likes and like compiling the data.
Yeah, like a lot of these lists, I don't know that they're really forthcoming with the criteria, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. They didn't talk about it for an hour like we just did, so.
Yeah. Who paid for the polls?
There's that for sure. Shit, Industry Nate, stop.
Distillers, Sing Sing Death House, 44.
Another.
Shout out Ryan Sin.
Ryan Sin, baby. Well, we've had him on a couple times.
The Wonder Years, Greatest Generation, 41.
Fucking great record. I mean, I love that band. I fucking love that band. I saw them a couple weeks back. I fucking love that band.
Saves the Day Through Being Cool, 36. Untouchable.
So we're just gonna do that as an episode at some point, I think, is what we're gonna. We definitely should. Yeah.
Spin the wheel, baby.
On that note, we're out. Thanks for coming back, Nate. Thanks for coming back, listeners. Tony, thanks for coming back, and I'm going to thank myself for coming back. Why
Anthony,
not?
thank you for coming back. Jamie, thank you for coming back. Yeah, Jamie, pull it up real quick.
Oh,
Peace, Pod.
See ya.
Cheers, nerds.
Jamie, pull up that video.
It's not coming out till Monday, but I was able to hang out with Anthony and his buddies and do a nice, fun podcast interview the other night. And I was challenged to do the party song by Blink-182. So let's call this an intermission from Drive Through Night. I do know most of the words by heart, Anthony, by the way, but I just need a cheat sheet for like a couple lines in the second verse because I get out of breath. So we're going to give it a go here. Do you wanna come to a party? My friends pick me up in the truck at 11:30. It sings at a frat house, so people look cool, they're reluctant. I followed, but I never dreamed there would be someone there to catch my attention. I wasn't out searching for love or affection, so I paid my 3. The girls got a free shine, the beer for tequila, and we headed into the party. And then in the backyard, some terrible ska band. Someone in the background was doing a keg stand. This place is so lame. All these girls look the same. All these guys have no game. Try would have stayed in my bed back at home watching TV alone, where I put on some porn or have sex on the phone. The people I hate down from anywhere stay trying to intoxicate girls to get them head after the party. Woo! And then I saw her standing there with green eyes and long blonde hair. She wasn't wearing underwear. At least I prayed that she might be the one. Maybe we'd have some fun, maybe we'd watch the sunrise. But that night I learned some girls try too hard, and some girls try too hard. Some girls try too hard to impress with the way that they dress, and those things on their chest, and the things they suggest to me. I couldn't believe this lady was saying the name she was dropping, the game she was playing. Hated this guy who now rides for black flies. Now she's down with I was well constructed disguise. Now I'd rather go dateless, stay here and hate this. Volume and makeup, her fake tears were tasteless. So I said I'd call her, but never would bother, till I got turned down by another girl at a party. So when you you see her standing there with green eyes and long blonde hair. She won't be wearing underwear, and you'll discover this girl's not the one, and she'll never be fun. You should just turn and run, because you'll find out that some girls try too hard. Some girls try too hard. And some girls try too hard to impress with the way that they dress, with those things on their chests and the things they suggest to me. Yeah, some girls try too hard. Some girls try too hard. Woo! A lot of words, right?